All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kiefer, as you guys know. One of the S's here. We got the other S. And then this is Nolan. Nolan, say hello, man.
How's it going, guys?
So
14 of you.
So look, all right. So here's what we're gonna do today.
Count down our top 10
Yeah,
movies
that's-
of 2017.
That's right. Whoever wants to start, this guy's making his list as the
As we
video's
go.
continuing. So he's gonna start with his number 10. I'm gonna go to my number 10. And then if you have your number 10, you can
I
say
have my
yours.
number 10.
So we'll just go down the line and then give a brief little explanation as to why. And then if you have any honorable mentions, which I'm sure you don't, you can go ahead and say those.
So I spent a lot of my time not watching movies. So I've only seen 9 actual movies this year. So my 10th would have to be just this shitbag of a production I saw on YouTube called Survivors.
I will put a bull on your head.
You guys all know what that is, because the only people sad enough to watch this channel have already watched that monstrosity.
Thanks, buddy. Alright, so my number 10 film is one of these guys' favorites. It's actually Get Out. Barely made the list, but that's just because I saw an ungodly amount of movies this year. It's a very great film. There's nothing like, I have nothing against it. It made the list. Really great horror film. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing what else that guy can do. Really excited to see, what Jordan Peele will do. So great film. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. And it handles politics actually very well, especially in a
It's
horror
a
film.
really good movie.
A lot of deeper meaning.
We'll be talking about that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
My number 10 was Star Wars The Last Jedi. Look, I love Star Wars. I didn't think the movie was insufferable, like a lot of people said it was. Definitely wasn't like my favorite. I actually thought that Episode 7 was considerably better, and there was some problems I had with it, but overall, I really did enjoy the movie. I did like some of the things there with it, disliked others, but overall, it's still Star Wars, and it still had that nostalgic feel for me, so I enjoyed it, so that's why that's my number 10 film.
Alright, so my number 9 is going to be Justice League. I'll be honest with you guys, I've never really followed DC. Watched the X-Men for a while, but I haven't even seen all of those. That is DC, right?
No, it's not. It's
That's
Marvel.
most certainly Marvel.
Not even in the movie.
They're owned
industry.
by DC, though.
Incorrect.
No, they're not.
Incorrect.
They're owned by Marvel.
You need to edit that out. You're the only movie I liked on the DC universe. It felt really weak. I've never really liked the DC universe, and this is just the epitome of laziness almost. It felt really rushed. There was, scenes with a CGI where Superman's face got like 11 feet long for some reason when he was trying to blow that frost. I mean, they just... For a movie that relies entirely on CGI, they could have at least tried with the
That's
CGI,
fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
they really could have.
Yeah. I'll go next for number 9 because mine
that's how
is...
mine works.
Yeah,
You
but
can- go
it's
ahead.
related.
I don't care. I
Mine's
don't give a
not
shit.
Justice League. It's the other DC release this year. It's Wonder Woman. I really actually liked that movie, even though it had a lot of people had problems with it. I know you guys didn't like it.
I didn't see it.
Oh well.
I thought it was okay.
I really liked it. I mean, obviously the ending, I think everyone can agree, is kind of terrible, and the way they took it with
Dog shit.
the whole. See, it was a CGI thing. The CGI was bad, and it relied way too heavily on it. But I thought the rest of the movie was absolutely fantastic, and I really liked what they did with it. So that's why Wonder Woman is my number 9 film.
All right, my number 9 is going to be Detroit. Okay, so this movie was very hard to watch. I think, and that's like kind of, it's hard to make me feel that way because I watch a lot of movies and there's not a lot that I cringe at. This movie was pretty cringeworthy. It handled the gray area of the situation very well. It showed how what they did to get in themselves in that situation was not good. It was stupid of them. But also the way that the cops handled it was also very, very, very stupid. Very, very beautiful, important movie.
So my number 8's Cleveland. It's the same thing as Detroit, but it's a little bit shittier. Star Wars, it felt lacking. I feel like they could have done a much better job just letting Carrie Fisher have a respectful ending. I feel like it would have been a really good way to end her, Star Wars career, end her as a hero. Flying into space and dying instead of just having her magically have the Force and suck herself back into a ship to live for another couple minutes.
Just Mary Poppins or whatever.
Yep. And now she's gonna have some kind of a CGI remake, which I've already said I hate CGI. I just can't see a respectful way of doing it. I think it's gonna turn out very poorly and kind of tarnish her reputation. I think that is why it's so low on my list. So
It is kind of a shame how that turned out.
That was a big gripe I had with the movie as well. That's why it was number 10 for me.
My number 8 is... Alright, my number 8...
I got a wouter in my nose.
My number 8 is going to be Blade Runner 2049. This film, okay, in a day and age where...
My number 9 is going to be AK-47 nomination.
That's so funny.
He said like Blade Runner 2049 did a lot of numbers. And he said fast.
Just miss. Huge miss. Stop.
It wasn't as bad as a fucking Cleveland joke.
Can we get through an entire number? Can we get through one number without having to jump cut it?
In a day and age where remakes and sequels and prequels and all these films just keep coming out and they don't really do the proper service to the films that came before them. This film did it. I would even argue that's probably better than the first one. That's one man's opinion, though. It's a very, very great film, though. Very well shot, beautiful. Do yourself a favor and watch it.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that one later too. Number 8 for me is gonna be Pixar's Coco. I really love this film.
I want to see that.
I went to actually see this with my girlfriend and little sister. We took her there. It was awesome. Didn't expect it to actually be that good of a movie because personally, like, animated films, well, I know Pixar is wonderful. I really love Toy Story and I loved the movies when I was a kid. I really haven't watched any of them since Frozen, which I think I was in like 8th grade for. Like, actually seriously sat down and watched them at the theater.
That long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
And
Fuck
I
you
was
wrong. Jesus.
I was just blown away by this. I thought it was so good. The music was excellent. The art style excellent. And if you haven't heard anything about it or don't know anything, which you probably do, it takes place in like Mexico, and I was kind of worried it was gonna be like beating people over the head with like the whole with like a racial message kind of, and it wasn't at all. It was just a really awesome story and really moving, and just again Pixar knocked it out of the park as they tend to do with all their stuff, and I really, really enjoyed that movie. So yeah, Coco's my number 8.
Pixar could do no wrong in my book.
Oh,
I
God,
love
they're
Pixar.
so good.
Especially Cars 2, guys. The movie's great.
Let's not
I
talk
mean,
about
Joey's had Car 3 as his number 3, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was uncomfortable. Continue.
All right, so my number 7 is gonna be Logan. He was bearable, but then he laughed at that guy that was hanging in the suicide forest. All right, so my number 7 is gonna be Logan. I really liked it, but it wasn't something that really stuck with me. I think part of it is the way that I watched it. I watched it with Kiefer here, but it wasn't in one sitting. It was just kind of sporadically over the course of like 6 months, which you just can't enjoy a movie in that way.
Right.
But it
Especially
seems like a
when
really
it's
good.
depressing as Logan.
Yeah, it seems like a really good ending to Hugh Jackman's career, and I think that's not his career, but his career as Wolverine. And I think that's just a really something I really look for is just a way to end a character beautifully, and I appreciated that, and so I put that on my list.
That's completely fair. My number 7 is going to be Wind River. This movie was excellent, and I actually remember in particular. I remember starting the movie and thinking that the theater was like actually like really like warm. I was actually gonna go like and complain that it was like super hot in there. And then throughout the movie, as it just kept going, I just kept getting colder and colder physically. I felt so into the movie. It was so real. And I was encapsulated. And that's one of the few movies this year that have done that to me 100%. This movie is a work of art. So if you guys haven't seen it, treat yourself.
Yeah, I heard that was really good actually. Didn't see it.
It's
but
excellent.
I might have to now. My number 7 is It. I really, really like this movie. Wasn't a favorite of mine, but I really did enjoy it. I thought what it did with the character, with those, again, it felt so much like Stranger Things to me, even though, I mean, it does have one of the same characters, but I really liked that feel where it was just that group of kids, and they're like all the misfits, and they're out of place, and they're going up against this great evil, and I love the way that they represented all of the kids' greatest fears through Pennywise. And I thought they took it in a really good direction, because the original, I feel like, is way too focused on it's just a murderous demon clown, where this was more actually like related to the actual story of it, where it's not just a clown, it's like this other creature from a world that like kind of comes and like preys on children and preys on their worst fears and stuff. And I really did like the way that it went in that direction with it, and I thought it was an awesome film, and it wasn't as scary as I would have liked it to be. But I thought that it was still very well done, and I enjoyed it. So, number 7 is it.
My number 6 is gonna be A Dog Purpose. Fuck.
A Dog Purpose.
All right, so for number 6, I'm gonna have to go with A Dog's Purpose. My dog Nash, rip little buddy. He actually was put down the day that I went to see the movie. So I got to see it with a lot of friends, which is nice, and I got to kind of remember him through that movie and kind of think about what he went through. Hopefully, we brought him happiness, like the dogs in the movie got to have a good life. So I think that was a really good way to remember him. So it might not be for everybody, but if you're a dog lover, if you have animals in your life that have passed away recently, or just you want to remember them, or even if you still have them, just to kind of cherish them while you still have them. It's a good flick to watch. So
Yeah, I didn't get around to seeing A Dog's Purpose just because I couldn't do it. I don't like crying in movie theaters, and I definitely would have. I don't like crying at all. So like the fact that movie would have made the waterworks go. Okay, so my number 6 is gonna be Split. Look, this guy that made this movie, M. Night Shyamalan. I know it's funny.
The most up and down career.
Seriously,
all time.
His old movies are masterpieces. There was a time where people really thought this guy was going to overthrow Spielberg as like the best director ever. Mm-hmm. Then he took a dog shit with trying to make Avatar.
Oof.
Very upsetting. But man, have I forgiven him, because what I love is good acting, good storytelling, entertaining, creative, just new things.
That's all part of the director.
Right.
That does the acting and the storytelling.
But he kind of he does bring it together and stuff. And
You're a real piece of work, you know that? Anyway.
I get what he's saying.
Art.
I get what he's saying. He did a beautiful job. Like, just he was like kind of directing the orchestra that was that movie.
Right.
Was
exactly.
Everything came together perfectly, and that was an awesome film. So we'll be talking about that one later.
Really quick. Yeah, and like I thought that James McAvoy's performance as like Professor X was great. My God, what's wrong with you? Well, you thought that X-Men was owned by DC, so you just called
can't say
it.
it.
Wait, Split?
Yeah.
Is it
James
X-Men?
McAvoy
No.
plays.
No. Same actor.
Okay, I was like, what the fuck?
It is funny because I mean it is just in case you haven't seen it, I was about to spoil something. It's some soup, guys. Okay, look, see Split, okay? Because there's a sequel coming soon. All I'm gonna say, no
Yes.
spoilers. You got to figure out what's going on.
See
The
Split
big-
if you have
It's
not seen
you
it.
linked to the John McAvoy universe, and I just ruined it for every single one of you guys.
Yep, link to
You
X-Men.
lost-
It's an X-Men movie.
You lost a tenth of your tunnel services.
Under what?
Cut my terrible joke out. You gotta cut about 8 of his terrible jokes out. So number 6 for me is gonna be Logan. I really enjoyed this film. It's gonna be talked about later, so I'm gonna keep it really brief. I just want to say I've never been a huge fan of X-Men. Like I never followed it that closely. I really like Days of Future Past. I thought, what was the other one? No, not Annihilation. Armageddon.
Apocalypse.
No, Apocalypse.
Good job.
One of the
I
A's.
tried to say M. Night Annihilation. I was like,
I didn't think X-Men Apocalypse was that good. But X-Men Days of Future Past was really entertaining. Never been a huge follower of the universe, but Logan was really good. I liked how it was really just focused on him, and instead of having an X-Men movie where Wolverine is dying, it was a movie about Wolverine. I thought the R-rated aspect was just brilliant with it, and I really liked it. A great end to his character, like you said earlier. Wish I was a closer follower so I could have gotten more out of it, but we're going to hear a lot more about Logan later. So.
Yeah, for sure.
alright, so my number 5 is going to have to be Logan Lucky, despite the fact that when I put this on my list, I had no clue what the movie was. I thought it was Hardcore Henry. So I got a good ribbon from Kiefer about that. But, now that I realize what movie it was, I actually put it higher on my list. It was a really good heist film. I enjoy a heist film. There's, it's every guy's fantasy is to pull off the perfect heist.
It really, yeah.
So it was nice to follow along and actually kind of, live along with them because it was actually relatable characters instead of some super spy and that kind of stuff.
Right.
The conclusion was incredibly satisfying. I'm not going to spoil it because I want you guys to go see it yourselves. But I would highly recommend it. It's a great film.
It's one of the best films of the year, guys. If you guys haven't seen this film, Oscar-winning film.
So what I meant to say there was it's a great flick, but not the best film. Cinematically it's okay, but it's not something that's going to keep you riveted. It's just something to kind of watch mindlessly, but it's something to get into and just have a fun night with.
Right. Okay, so alright guys, so my number 5 has got to be The Babysitter, a Netflix original. Listen to me, okay? If you guys, now you got to have the right taste for it. If you guys like over-the-top comedy and horror, you have to see this movie. It's so entertaining. It's short, it's quick. Something definitely for like a party to watch or sit down and watch it with your girlfriend. A lot of fun. Great film.
Number 5 for me is gonna be. Oh my God!
Why?
Jesus!
Why?
Stop!
Why would you screech like a fucking velociraptor?
This is gonna be a lamb to edit, dude, my friend. A lamb.
That's gonna be a video.
Number 5 for me is gonna have to be Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now, I watched this film.
You're a big fan of Homecomings, aren't you?
Wasn't. That's a hit. That's a hit. I can say it. That's
Good
a
job.
hit.
Good job.
So number 5 for me is Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't know why I couldn't say Homecoming. It's like
You're trying to find me!
My number 5 was Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't know how to say Homecoming.
I forgot how!
I actually wasn't a huge fan of this when I watched it first. And then I had some time to think about it, and I really enjoyed it. However, I was not able to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 this year or Thor Ragnarok, so what? So I can't compare it to those, which I actually heard were better than Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I thought it was a good film, so it's sitting at number 5 for me.
So my number 4 is gonna have to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I haven't seen Spider-Man: Homecoming or Thor Ragnarok, so I have no frame of reference either. So we're just kind of both going blind into this, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good sequel. My only really gripe with it is that they didn't do anything with Groot. I mean, in the first movie, he was able to regenerate at like super speed and just get blown up by a rocket and be fine. And for some reason, he's like 3 inches tall for the entirety of the second movie, which is what, 2 years later or something like that. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Wait, no. Guardians 2 takes place right after 1.
Okay, but how has he not grown at all?
No, I know. That is kind of dumb. It's not like right after. It's at least a couple weeks or a couple
It's
months.
really dumb. It's real dumb. So I would like to see more Groot, but other than that, great film. The comedy felt a little forced, but you know you could tell it wasn't what their main focus on. They're focusing on Infinity War, and I understand that, so I wasn't really mad at the film. I enjoyed it a lot. So
My number 4 is gonna be Disaster Artist. Okay, look. When you can take a movie that's as bad as The Room, that's as laughably bad as The Room, and make a fantastic, almost Oscar contender film around it, that is a work of art right there. Fantastic film, and it exceeded my expectations. A lot of people were just expecting to just go in, make fun of the guy, whatever the hell his name is, I can't remember. Tommy Wiseau. Yep, there you go. Just walk in, make fun of the guy, but this movie, it inspires you. And I feel like it's maybe a little bit higher up on my list than like most people because I relate to it like on a personal level, in the sense that like...
you made The Room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can connect to it on this level of essentially when we put Survivors in the theater, it could have had the same exact reaction, which would have been pretty freaking hilarious, honestly. But, you know, you gotta learn. It has a great message of just being like, you gotta learn how to laugh at yourself, take criticism, and just move on from there. So, honestly, great film, guys. Check it out when you get the chance.
Are we number 4?
Nope.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we are.
Okay, so my number 4 film is going to be Get Out, and I did not expect it. I thought it was going to be something like their previous release, like about the cat, Keanu.
Oh my
which was like
God.
like a obviously supposed to be like a lighthearted, fun movie, but
Right.
I thought it was like coming from the guy who did that into Get Out, which is I think very, very widely accepted as one of the best films of the year.
It's great.
Such a good message, and so well done, in just a beautiful way. The soundtrack was great, the acting was awesome, and the direction and the cinematography in this movie was so good, and I think we're going to hear more about it later, but that's why Get Out is my number 4 film for the year.
All right, guys.
What's your number 3, Nolan?
I'm getting there, Kiefer.
Oh. Sorry, I just got excited.
Oh, well, no, stop.
Alright.
You done? Mm-hmm. All right. So my number... All right. Stop looking at me.
I'm waiting for you to say your number 3 film!
All right, so my number 3 film is going to have to be Dunkirk. It's a really good, you know...
Nolan.exe is stopped working.
All right, guys, so I'm going to have to go for my number...
God. Damn it, Nolan! Is that what you're here? Do your number 3!
All right, guys, so my number 3 is going to be Dunkirk. I'm just a really big historian. especially of World War II, and I just love war movies in general. I think really did a great job really did a great job as far as cinematography, as well as trying to keep it historically accurate. Acting, it wasn't obviously the best because it was a lot of newer actors, but I really liked that it was able to seem more of a real story because you weren't sure that one person was going to make it through because they're the big budget actor. That's one thing I really value in a movie is just kind of keeping you on the edge of your seat. And even though you obviously know how it ends because you know history, you were still able to stay almost caught in that suspense because you weren't sure what was going to happen to the certain characters.
Right.
So I really like that aspect of Dunkirk.
So my number 3 is Baby Driver, guys. Just talk about taking a film that's just...
Guys, we have 3 more to get through.
It's not difficult.
We can do it. You got it. You got this.
My number 3 is going to be Baby Driver. Here's the thing about Baby Driver. Talk about taking the most unoriginal idea ever. Dude, holy shit! I was ready, dude! I was gonna make it through it! Hold on. Oh my god! Just go away for like 30 seconds. Okay. Nolan, it's daytime. Don't go out there and do that.
I don't think he cares.
Okay. Alright, here's the deal, guys. We can stop laughing, so he's gone. He'll be back in a little bit. But essentially, here's why, okay?
Stop.
Okay. Talk about taking the most unoriginal idea ever and just making it the most original idea ever. They took this thing and it's like 2.5 hours, but it's so entertaining. It feels like it just goes by so fast. Every single frame, every single second of this movie is filled to the brim with just rich, raw detail, Easter eggs, references, unbelievable writing, great characters.
Yeah.
This movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, dude, do yourself a favor. Sit down with some friends. Go.
It's an awesome movie. My number 3 is also Baby Driver for those same reasons. I loved it. I really love music, and I'm like one of my favorite things in film, like ever, is just that syncing of music with actions. And I just thought that was so well done through the entire film. Obviously, that was one of the big premises, and they just knocked that out of the park.
Yeah.
Love Baby Driver. Love the characters. I actually watched this at my house. I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it at my house, which can lead to, I feel like it can be sometimes less of a cinematic experience, and you can kind of get more distracted. You go do something else while you're watching it in the background.
Yeah.
And I was so engaged the entire time. Some of the complaints I heard about it before I watched it, because I read some reviews, were like they said the relationship between Baby and his girlfriend was a little fake and kind of like seemed a little forced. I didn't actually feel like that was a problem. I thought it was the relationship between those two characters was actually pretty good.
It was great.
And I really enjoyed the entire film. Thought it was really good, so that's why it's my number 3.
Dude, how long have you been struggling for? I look over.
No, so my number 2 is gonna have to be It. It's just one of the top movies I've seen. Obviously very critically acclaimed. It just really kept me engaged. It actually made me interested in the characters, which is usually hard to do in a horror movie. Which is
sure.
also why Get Out was gonna be my number 1, but I shouldn't say that because I'm gonna spoil it. So it really kept me engaged. It was a way for me to actually care about the characters, which is hard to do in a horror movie, and I really value that when a director can kind of pull that off and actually make it an engaging story instead of something that makes you jump. I hadn't seen the original nor had I read the book. I kind of went into it blind, didn't even watch any reviews. I just wanted to see what it's like walking in and just not really knowing anything about the story and seeing it for the first time. And I appreciated it for what it was, and I heard in the parking lot, a lot of, Kiefer and Charlie were talking to each other and talking about some of the things they'd seen in the first one or things they'd heard about the book. And it was very interesting how they were able to keep true to the storyline, but also take it in entirely their own way, and I appreciated that a lot. So I got to give that my number 2.
So something I just wanted to add about It, because I mentioned it earlier, was that's a huge book. That's like over 1,000-page book, and I understand that half of it is them as adults dealing with their issues they had as kids. And so I guess technically you could say the part they focused on in the movie was only 500 pages, but still, that's an enormous volume of literature to make into a 2-hour film with multiple characters, and to make it really coherent and to make you care about all the characters. And because that's a movie where you really need to care about the characters, because so much of it is their individual fears, and they did such a good job not feeling like there were any characters that were less important than others. And I really like that. So I just wanted to add that on to your
Thank you.
point as well.
Thank you. Very good point.
Okay, so my number 2 is going to be It as well, actually, but we've been talking about this for so long that I'm going to go through it really quick. Look, something I like about It is that I don't know, I've heard a lot of people say that's either not scary at all or that it is really scary. So, I don't know, kind of pick your cup of tea. It's more along the side of, like, with Insidious, where they just show the monsters so blatantly. It's like so in your face and loud and crazy. But the editing is so cool. It's like the most unique thing ever. In a day and age where horror movies are just so played out, you get the same thing over and over and over again. This movie took it to a whole new level with multiple different genres also brought into play. And also, not to mention, this movie is hilarious. And like, I mean that. Like, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen all year, and it is a horror film that didn't even advertise its comedy. Number 2.
All right, so my number 2 is gonna be Dunkirk. Can you please fucking get it together?
I got it together so hard. I started losing when he said Insidious.
Did I say Insidious?
My number 2 film for the year is gonna be Dunkirk. I loved this film. It's directed by Christopher Nolan, so I'm a little biased there as he is my favorite director. But I just thought that everything they did with this movie was amazing. I thought the impact it had on, as another film depicting a war, just like kind of with like Saving Private Ryan, where you see it and you're like, holy cow, those people went through that. That's insane. A lot of people had problems with it because it wasn't character driven, and the characters were kind of more just representative of everyone involved in the experience as a whole. I was very much okay with that because I liked how it wasn't like, you got to know this individual. It was I did like how they did the whole, it was more all encompassing of the actual event, and I really liked that. And I saw it in IMAX,
Yeah,
and that
same.
meant so much because those dogfighting scenes when they were flying those planes through the air, there were parts where I can remember my head looking in the bottom corner of the screen and following a plane all the way across the other top corner. And that is just such a huge experience, and especially with like all the sound you get in there and the explosions, and it was just
It's so loud, but it doesn't bother you.
It was such an incredible experience. Just like Saving Private Ryan, it really puts you in that moment and you feel like you're there. And I love any film that can do that to me, especially war films. So I loved Dunkirk, and yeah, that's why it's my number 2.
All right, guys. So my number 1's gonna have to be Get Out. I kind of referenced that earlier when Charlie was talking about the movie, and when I was talking about it, as far as making you care about the characters. But I really didn't have high expectations going in. I kind of just watched it on Netflix. I didn't expect it to really blow me away, but it really, really did. And I've actually kind of, it's one of those movies that you look into it afterwards and you think about the imagery, and it really blows you away to the amount of detail they really took. I was expecting Jordan Peele to just be another, slapstick movie. Didn't expect it to actually be that serious, and it came out to be really one of the hardest hitting horrors and dramas of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
It really, really touched on a lot of hard hitting topics as far as racism and all that, But
in very real ways.
Yeah, it did it in such a way that it wasn't just, feeling like Hollywood was just trying to press their, their ideologies down your throat.
Yeah, you
but it was
weren't beat
just,
over the head.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but just if you've seen the movie, kind of look into it, look up some videos, watch or read some articles about some of the symbolism in it, and I think you'll really be blown away the amount of detail they really went into.
I know exactly what you're referencing. There is a video on Vanity Fair that I don't know how I even saw it. It pops up in my feed, but it's about Jordan Peele talking about some fan theories that have been like recognized in the film, and people have been talking about on like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. And he goes through and reads some of them and either like confirms, denies, or is like, I don't know, you can decide if it's up to you. And some of the things that you would think are just coincidental were put in there so purposefully, and it almost gives you a different perspective on the film. Just that
it's
video.
ridiculous.
It's like a 12-minute video. Look it up. It's like
It's so worth the watch.
just it's so
One of you link me.
yeah. It's
So I
so
will
it's so
watch this.
good.
Okay, so guys, my number 1 is going to be Logan, and look, here is why, okay? I have watched the X-Men movies kind of on and off, and not really gotten like fully immersed into them. And I've never really done this with a film where I'm like, okay, the finale is coming out now. Look, I know there's still X-Men movies getting made, but chronologically, Logan is supposed to be the last, so we're seeing everything that came up to that. So Logan is the last movie, so I'm like, okay, I want to watch everything that led up to that. So in a course of about a week, I watched every single X-Men film leading up to Logan. So I was fully immersed in this. I'm like, I am ready to go. Let's do this. fell in love with the series, fell in love with the characters. And guys, in a day and age where superhero movies are just the biggest things ever, and it's so played out. Like, I love superhero movies, do not get me wrong, but it's a played out thing. This movie and seeing what they did with it was just so beautiful. And it really does have it all. And I implore you guys that even if you're not even a comic book movie fan at all, if you're just a...
What
okay?
are you doing?
I'm sorry, guys.
So even if you're just a film fan, guys, I implore you, go watch this movie. It's one of, just to give you an idea, and I won't spoil anything, I haven't even shed a tear since like 7th grade, and this movie made me get teary-eyed. So that's saying a lot. It gets you in the feels. So
Yeah, I definitely
great
know
film.
why you put Logan so high. I think Logan is an awesome movie.
Mm-hmm.
My number one film of the year is going to be Blade Runner 2049. I loved this film. Anyone, well, probably the only person who can actually
It was
tell-
great, though.
tell
It
you,
really was
because the only
great.
person who saw it was you.
Yeah.
I love this movie so much. So I really like old sci-fi movies. But I actually had never seen the original Blade Runner. So the week before this movie came out, and we had been talking about seeing it, I went and I saw the first one. And then I was like, oh, there's another... after watching that, I was like, that was pretty good. And then I watched the director's cut? Or the
Oh my God.
remastered version. There's
Yeah,
like four versions
I
of the
forget what
original
it's
film.
called, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But the one that was like redone with like some cut in a different way. And anyway, I like that even more than the actual like released one that was released in theaters
That's
back
like
in the 70s.
proclaimed as the primary
actual
version
one,
that you should
right.
watch. So
I liked it. I was like, this is awesome. It's just another like universe that was created back. I just really love old sci-fi movies. And so I went into Blade Runner 2049 with some pretty high expectations, and I think 2049 beats the original. I think that
Yeah.
this movie this is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. It might be one of my top 5 films. No, it definitely is one of the top 5 films.
That's
might
insane.
be
That's nuts.
might be one of my top 3 films. I loved it so much. It was such a it's almost 3 hours. It might be over 3 hours.
It's right on
It's
the line.
so
It's like 2 hours
long.
and 15 minutes.
It's so long, and at no point, even though there's a lot of really slow scenes, especially for like a sci-fi movie where you expect there to be a lot more action, I was never bored. I was on the edge of my seat. It is a work of art. The cinematography and the way that they put messages in with like the settings and stuff, and like the costume design and the whole production was just an absolute masterpiece. I loved every second of it. I own 3 movies on Blu-ray. I own the Dark Knight trilogy. Those are the 3 movies I own on Blu-ray. And when this movie comes out on Blu-ray, actually might be out already, I am buying it. I am buying the director's cut, special edition, whatever it is. I don't care how much it costs. That's how much I love this movie. I thought that it was just one of the best films I've ever seen in the theater, and it was criminally underrated and underviewed because we saw it
It's sad.
probably
It
3
really is
weeks
sad.
after it came out, so we were a little bit late, and I think there was one other person in the theater. And actually that person in the theater with us, they had seen it the day before, and they had come back to see it again, and I remember specifically, like, something happened, and I, like, reacted out loud to it, and
Yep.
he had just walked back into the theater from using the bathroom, and he, like, he jumped over me, he's like, what did I miss? Because it is that packed full of, like, tiny little messages and meanings, kind of like Get Out is, where there's so many small details to pick up on. I loved it. It just had so much meaning to me, and it made me ask so many questions after about, like, really, like, big, kind of, like, world-changing and, like, kind of these ephemeral questions. So I really, really liked it. If you haven't seen it, which you probably haven't because it was very, very poorly viewed and rated, do yourself a favor and go watch it. Yeah.
To expect 2 teenage kids to sit there in a theater for 2 hours and 50 minutes and be fully engaged, barely talk unless we were confused on something, and then as the credits roll out, sit there for about 2 minutes, barely saying a word, except this, like, what the hell did we just watch? This movie is more than a film. It's more than a movie, and that's not me overpraising. It literally is something that I think it's important to watch. and it's sad that people might view this in and just be like, it's long and it's boring.
Yeah. It's slow. It's a very slow film.
Right.
But I think it's a work of art, and I think it answers so many questions regarding just existence and stuff. And there's so much existential kind of stuff that's wrapped up in this movie.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
So
the movie.
to top off everything here, that was our list, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I just want to say that my honorable mentions, I'm not going to explain every single one.
I have one too.
Okay, I'm not going to explain every single one at all. I'm literally just going to list them off because I recommend you guys see these. Brawl in Cell Block 99, Logan Lucky, as he said, Last Jedi, as he said, War for the Planet of the Apes, Dunkirk, and Patriots Day are all fantastic films that I implore you all to see.
The one I would add, just really briefly, Annabelle Creation. Loved The Conjuring. Never saw The Conjuring 2. Annabelle was awful. Annabelle Creation, surprisingly good.
Surprisingly good. It was
good.
actually pretty
It was
good.
very entertaining, very very scary.
Mhm.
That was the scariest movie I've seen all year. So
Really? It was, yeah, it was pretty spooky. So yeah, guys, look, I know we haven't really done a whole lot on the channel recently. We just uploaded a video a couple days ago by the time I upload this. Pretty crazy. It's a crazy video. If you are in for a over-the-top, short little comedy, go ahead and go watch it. I'll link it down below. And yeah, it stars this dude. And yeah, we got a lot of big projects coming soon. And hopefully ATOX try us to talk about it to 14 of you that'll watch it. Yeah?
all right.
All right,
Well,
buddy.
thank you for watching. For all the jump cuts, because we could not get through this without laughing hysterically every 3 minutes.
That's
so.
true. So,
All
all
right.
right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.
Obviously, there's things they missed. There's storylines they had to cut out, but
Yeah, they totally missed the part where they all ran a train on the 14-year-old girl. Really was hoping that would be in the film. It's one of the things that I really look for in a film is just child pornography. I would have liked to see her get impregnated on screen, but unfortunately we can't get everything that we want. So hopefully in It number 7, we're gonna be able to see this girl just get ass fucked to death. Kiefer, you're number 2.